Welcome back to Cess Talk Sports, BeWise PoliSports Podcast. I'm your favorite auntie with Uncle Tendency, Cess, and I'm here with my brilliant co-host, Political Lil. What up, Political Lil? How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, Cess. Excited for today's episode. This is a story that needs more attention and celebration.
Absolutely. Today we're diving into the incredible history of the Negro Baseball League and the trailblazing women who made their mark in it. Now, many of us know the Negro League as a groundbreaking institution that provided opportunities for black athletes during segregation. But what often gets overlooked is how it also opened doors for women to compete at a professional level. During a time when segregation divided the country and gender roles were strictly defined, these women shattered barriers. Leo, can you imagine the courage it took to step onto that field, not only as a black athlete, but as a woman in a male dominated league?
It's hardly hard. It's hard to fathom, Cess. These women weren't just playing baseball; they were redefining what was possible for both black people and women in America. The challenges they faced were enormous, but their resilience and talent were unmatched.
Exactly. The Negro League itself was a response to systemic racism that excluded black players from Major League Baseball. It became a space for incredible talent to shine. Players like Satchel Paige, Jackie Robinson, and Josh Gibson. And then, in this world of extraordinary male athletes, came women like Tony Stone, Connie Morgan, and Mamie Peanut Johnson, who didn't just play, they excelled. Their stories are what we're here to explore today.
Yes, we'll look at their groundbreaking careers, the challenges they faced, and the legacy they left behind. It's a story of race, gender, and unyielding power of passion.
Let's start with Tony Stone. She was the first woman to play professional baseball in the Negro League, joining the Indianapolis Clowns in 1953. Now, Tony wasn't just a symbolic figure, she had real talent. She replaced none other than Hank Aaron when he moved to Major League Baseball. Lil, what does that say about her skills?
It says everything. Says to step into Hank Aaron's shoes meant you had to be exceptional. Tony was tough, determined, and absolutely skilled. She didn't just make history; she earned her place on that field with her batting, and fielding abilities.
Facts. Next, we have Connie Morgan. She followed in Tony's footsteps and joined the Indianapolis Clowns. Connie was a versatile player, primarily a second baseman, and her presence in the league further solidified the idea that women could excel at this level. How do you think Connie's contribution differed from Tony's, Lil?
Connie brought a new kind of visibility to the women in the league. While Tony opened the door, Connie helped keep it open. She showed that women weren't just filling a spot; they were an integral part of the game.
Great point. And then, of course, there's Mamie Peanut Johnson. She was a pitcher who boasted an incredible 33-8 win-loss record during her career. Mamie faced off against male batters and proved she could compete with and often outperform them. How does Mamie's story stand out to you, Lil?
Mamie was fearless. Imagine being a woman on the mound, staring down male batters, knowing they doubt you simply because of your gender. And then imagine dominating them game after game. Her confidence and talent were undeniable.
Now let's talk about the obstacle these women faced. They were met with racism from white audiences and sexism from male teammates, and were often dismissed by the media. Lil, how do you think they managed to push through all of that?
It took an extraordinary level of resilience, says. These women weren't just athletes, they were pioneers. They understood that the presence in the league was bigger than themselves. They were playing for future generations, breaking down walls for others to follow.
And their triumphs were equally extraordinary. Tony Stone went head to head with some of the best players of her era. Connie Morgan's versatility showed the depth of women's talent, and Mamie Johnson's pitching record speaks for itself. Their legacies are about so much more than baseball. They're about showing what's possible when passion and talent meet opportunity. The intersection of race and gender added an extra layer to their challenges and triumphs. They weren't just breaking barriers as black people in America, they were doing it as women in a male dominated space. Leo, how do you think this dual fight shaped their experiences?
It made their journey twice as hard, but also twice as impactful. They had to navigate racism, which was deeply embedded in the society, and sexism, which doubt their abilities to compete. But their success showed that excellence knows no gender or race.
And that's why their stories resonate so deeply today. They remind us of the importance of representation and the power of breaking barriers. These women didn't just make history, they changed the game, literally and figuratively. All right, Lil, let's set the stage for today's discussion by looking at the historical roots of the Negro Baseball League. The league was born out of necessity, created in the early 20th century when systemic racism kept black athletes out of Major League Baseball. These leagues weren't just about playing baseball, they were a cultural cornerstone for black communities. Lil, can you give us a sense of what these leagues meant to the people at that time?
Oh, absolutely, Cess. The Negro Leagues were more than just a sport organization. They were a symbol of resilience, creativity, and pride. They gave black communities a space to celebrate their talent and push back against the barriers of segregation. Teams like the Kansas City Monarchs and the Homestead Grays became household names, and players like Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson were heroes. It was more than about baseball. It was about representation and showing the world what black excellence looked like.
Well said, Lil. The Negro Leagues didn't just challenge segregation in sports, they highlighted the hypocrisy of a system that excluded some of the best players simply because of their skin color. These leagues showcased extraordinary talent and innovation that had a profound impact on the game of baseball itself.
Right. For example, they were pioneers in the night game, long before Major League Baseball adopted the idea. The style of play was also different, fast, dynamic, and exciting. It drew massive crowds and created a sense of unity within the black community.
And yet, despite all of that, black players were still barred from joining Major League Baseball teams until Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947. It was in this environment of systemic exclusion and ingenuity that the Negro Leagues became a place where not only men, but eventually a few extraordinary women could compete at a professional level. So, Lil, let's talk about how women managed to break into the Negro Leagues. This wasn't something anyone expected or planned for, right?
Not at all, Seth. Women's entry into the league was a result of a unique circumstance. By the 1950s, the Negro Leagues were beginning to decline due to the integration of Major League Baseball. As top male players left for the majors, some teams turned to women to help fill the rosters and attract fans. This wasn't just a novelty act, too, either. These women were incredibly skilled and ready to prove themselves against male competition. Tony Stone, for example, joined the Indianapolis Clowns in 1953, and she was followed by Connie Morgan and Mamie Peanut Johnson.
Exactly. But let's not forget the uphill battle they faced. These women weren't just dealing with the racial barriers of the time, they were also confronting sexism within the league itself. Many of their male teammates and coaches didn't believe women belonged on the field. Lil, what do you think was the hardest part for these women? Being black in a segregated America or being women in a male dominated league?
Now that's a tough one, Seth. I say it was the intersection of both. They were constantly having to prove their worth in an environment where they undoubtedly were marginalized. Even within the black community, there was skepticism about their ability to play at a high level. And on top of that, they had to endure the physical and emotional toll of playing in a sport that required them to compete with and against men.
And they persevered. Women like Tony Stone, Connie Morgan, and Mamie Johnson didn't just join the league, they thrived in it. They showed incredible skill and determination, proving they belonged on the field just as much as anyone else. Their presence also challenged societal norms, making a statement about what women could achieve, even in the face of intense opposition. This wasn't just about baseball, it was about breaking barriers and paving the way for future generations.
Absolutely. And that's what's even more impressive. It's that they weren't just playing. They were performing at a high level, often against male players who underestimated them. It's a testament to their talent and mental toughness. Says, I think their stories are a reminder that change often comes from people who are willing to step outside of societal expectations and prove everyone wrong.
Couldn't agree more, Lil. These women were trailblazers in every sense of the word, and their impact goes far beyond the game of baseball. They challenged not just the norms of the sport, but also the larger societal norms of their time. Coming up next, we'll take a closer look at their individual stories, their challenges, triumphs, and how they changed the game forever. Let's dive into the incredible story of Tony Stone, often called the First Lady of Professional Baseball. Little Tony Stone's journey began in St. Paul, Minnesota, where she fell in love with baseball at a young age. What stands out to me about her story is that she refused to take no for an answer when it came to her dream of playing professionally. Can you tell us more about her early years?
Oh, absolutely, Seth. Tony Stone was born in 1921, and from a young age, she had a passion for baseball that couldn't be denied. Growing up in St. Paul, she played on the local boys team because there were no opportunities for girls. And even then, she stood out as a phenomenal player. Her determination only grew as she got older. Tony knew she wanted to play professionally, but at the time, women were expected to stick to softball or other acceptable sports for women. She pushed against these societal norms and began playing in semi pro leagues, honing her skills against male players.
And look, what's remarkable is that despite constant resistance, she never gave up. Whether it was sneaking onto the fields or convincing coaches to let her play, Tony Stone was relentless. She understood that her passion for baseball wasn't just a hobby, it was her calling.
Exactly. Her perseverance paid off when she joined the Indiana Clowns in 1953. This wasn't just any team. It was the same team that Hank Aaron played for before joining Major League Baseball. When the Clowns needed a replacement for Aaron, Tony stepped up, becoming the first woman to play professional baseball full time in the Negro Leagues.
Joining the Indianapolis Clowns was a huge milestone, but Tony's journey wasn't without its challenges. Let's talk about some of the obstacles she faced once she got there.
Where do I even begin, Seth? Being a woman in a male dominated league brought constant scrutiny. Her teammates weren't always supportive, and many saw her as a publicity stunt rather than a serious player. She had to endure sexism on top of racism that all Negro League players faced during that time. And yet she held her own. Tony had a .243 batting average during her time with the Clowns, which was no small feat considering the level of competition. She also famously got a hit off of Satchel Paige, one of the greatest pitchers of all time. That moment alone was a testament to her skill.
She also faced hostility from fans, right? There were people who didn't think women had any business playing baseball at that level, and yet she proved them wrong with every game she played. Then what do you think it took for her to keep going in such a hostile environment?
It took incredible mental toughness, says. Tony knew she was breaking barriers and paving the way for future generations. She once said, I love baseball so much that nothing was going to stop me, not even being a woman. That kind of determination is what makes her story so inspiring.
Tony Stone didn't just play baseball, she made history. Her legacy is about more than her stats, it's about breaking down barriers and changing perceptions. Lil, how do you think her story has influenced women in sports today?
Her story is a blueprint for resilience and trailblazing. Tony Stone showed that women could compete and excel on the same level as men, even in the face of overwhelming odds. She opened the door not just for women in baseball, but for women in all sports who are pushing for equal opportunity.
And she's finally getting the recognition she deserves. There's a field named after her in St. Paul, and her story has been featured in books and plays. But what's just as important is how her courage continues to inspire. Her journey reminds us that breaking barriers is never easy, but it's always worth it. Lil, what do you think is the biggest lesson we can take away from Tony Stone's life?
To me, it's about staying true to your passion, no matter what obstacles stand in your way. Tony Stone didn't wait for permission to pursue her dream. She just went out and did it. That's a message anyone can learn from, whether you're an athlete, an activist, or anyone trying to make a difference.
Well said, Lil. Coming up next, we'll explore the stories of two more trailblazing women who made their mark in the Negro Leagues, Connie Morgan and Mamie Peanut Johnson. Their journeys are just as compelling as Tony's, and we can't wait to share them with you. Let's move on to Connie Morgan, another remarkable trailblazer in the Negro Leagues. Lil Connie's story began in Philadelphia, where she quickly established herself as a standout athlete. Tell us more about her early life and her journey to professional baseball.
Sure says Connie Morgan was born in Philadelphia in 1935. From a young age, it was clear that she was an exceptional athlete. She excelled not only in baseball, but also in basketball and track. Her athleticism made her a force to be reckoned with. She started playing organized softball as a teenager and became a star player for the North Philadelphia Honey Dippers, a women's semi professional softball team. Connie's skill on the field caught the attention of scouts, and in 1954, she made the transition from softball to professional baseball where she joined the Indiana Clowns.
That transition was a big leap, especially during a time when women were rarely seen in professional sports. What does that say about her drive and determination, Lil?
It says everything, says. Connie wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo. At a time when women were expected to stick to traditional roles, she stepped onto the baseball diamond and proved she belonged. She wasn't just playing for herself, she paved the way for other women to follow.
When Connie joined the Indianapolis Clowns, she became a vital part of their lineup, playing second base. Lil, how did she contribute to the team, and what were some of the unique challenges she faced?
Connie brought incredible skill and precision to the role as a second baseman. She had quick reflexes, a strong arm, and an exceptional understanding of the game. Her talent was undeniable, and she quickly became a fan favorite. However, Connie also had to navigate the immense pressures of being one of the few women in the league. On top of dealing with sexism, she had to meet high expectations placed on her as a black woman representing a groundbreaking role. Balancing societal expectations with her commitment to her career, that was no easy task.
Facts. And while she faced criticism, it's clear that her performance spoke louder than any of her detractors. Lil, do you think her time with the Clowns helped to change perceptions about women in baseball?
I think it did. Connie showed that women could hold their own in professional baseball, even at the highest levels of competition in the Negro Leagues. She didn't just play the game; she excelled at it, which helped shift public opinion, even if it was just slightly, about what women could do and achieve in sports.
Let's talk about Connie's cultural impact. As a black woman in the 1950s playing professional baseball, she represented so much more than just an athlete. Lil, what does her story tell us about the power of representation?
Connie's story is a testament to the importance of breaking barriers. During the 1950s, black women were often regulated to the sideline, their talent and contributions overlooked. Connie's success in the Negro League challenged these narratives. She showed young black girls and black women in general that it was possible to break into the spaces that traditionally excluded them. Her presence on the field sent a powerful message about resilience, talent, and the fight for equality.
And even today, her legacy continues to inspire. Lil, what do you think is the biggest takeaway from Connie Morgan's career?
Well, for me, it's her courage to step into the unknown and thrive. Connie Morgan didn't have a roadmap for what she was doing. She was creating it as she went along. That kind of bravery is what inspires generations to dream bigger and push boundaries.
Beautifully said, Lil. Connie Morgan's story reminds us that true trailblazers aren't just players, they're symbols of change. Coming up, we'll dive into the life and career of Mamie Peanut Johnson, another incredible woman who left her mark on baseball history. Stay tuned. Our next trailblazer is Mamie Peanut Johnson, a name synonymous with determination and talent. Lil, let's start by talking about her early life. How did she grow into the powerhouse pitcher we know today?
Well, Mamie was born in South Carolina in 1935 and spent her childhood in a segregated South. From an early age, she had a natural love for baseball, playing with the neighborhood boys and honing her skills as a pitcher. Her nickname Peanut came later in life, but it reflects her small stature. She stood at just 5'3" tall. Despite her size, Mamie had a fierce arm and incredible control on the mound. Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in the Major League Baseball was a big influence on her. It inspired her to pursue her dreams of playing professional baseball no matter what the obstacle.
She really embodies the spirit of never giving up, doesn't she? So how did Mamie refine her pitching skills, especially at a time when opportunities for black women were almost non existent?
Says Mamie pitching skills were largely self-taught. She learned by playing with and against boys in her neighborhood. Later, she played on amateur teams before catching the attention of scouts. It's remarkable when you think about how little formal training she had. Her talent was undeniable, and her determination set her apart.
Mamie's professional career is nothing short of impressive. They'll tell us about her time with the Indianapolis Clowns and some of her standout moments.
Mamie signed with the Indianapolis Clowns in 1953, making her one of the few women to ever play in the Negro League. She was a pitcher and had an incredible record of 33 wins and just 8 losses during her career. Her skill on the mound earned her a reputation as a tough competitor. She was known for her fastball and her ability to outthink batters. Despite facing men who often underestimated her, Mamie held her own and then some.
That's incredible. A 33-8 record in professional baseball is no small feat. So, how do you think her time with the Clowns shaped her legacy in baseball?
It solidified her place as a pioneer. Mamie proved that she could not only compete, but also excel in the league, dominated by men. Her presence was a statement that women had the talent and the grit to play at the highest level.
Of course, Mamie's journey wasn't without its challenges. Lil, what kind of adversity did she face, and how did she rise above it?
Well, Mamie faced both racial and gender discrimination throughout her career. As a black woman in the 1950s, she was often dismissed and belittled. Opposing players and fans would heckle her, trying to get under her skin, but Mamie never let it rattle her. One story she loved to tell was about a bettor who mocked her side before stepping up to the plate. She struck him out, and her response was simple: "You're out, big guy." Moments like that showed her resilience, her ability to silence critics through sheer skill and confidence.
That's the kind of story that gives you chills, Lil. What can we take away from Mamie's example when it comes to overcoming adversity?
Well, Mamie's story is a lesson in perseverance. She didn't let societal expectations or biases dictate what she could achieve. Instead, she proved her worth through hard work and excellence. Her resilience is a powerful reminder to push forward even when the odds are stacked against you.
Well said, Lil. Mamie Peanut Johnson legacy is one of courage, talent, and unshakable determination. Coming up next, we'll discuss the broader impact of these women on sports and society as a whole. Stay with us. We've spent time getting to know the individual journeys of Tony Stone, Connie Morgan, and Mamie Peanut Johnson. Now let's look at their collective legacy. Leo, how did these women challenge the stereotypes about women's roles and abilities in sports?
Well, they absolutely shattered those stereotypes there. At a time when women, especially black women, were expected to stay within traditional societal roles, Tony, Connie, and Mamie stepped into a male dominated sport and excelled. They proved that women could compete at the highest level, even in a league where the odds were stacked against them. By simply stepping onto the field, they made a powerful statement about the capabilities of women in sports and beyond.
It's remarkable how their presence in the Negro Leagues wasn't just about baseball. It was a broader commentary on race and gender in society. How did their careers influence conversations around these issues, Lil?
Well, that's a great point, Cess. These women forced people to reckon with the intersections of race and gender. They were black athletes doing segregation, and they were women in a sport dominated by men. Their success made it clear that barriers based on race and gender were artificial and unfair. Their stories were also a source of pride and inspiration for the black community, showing that representation mattered and that breaking those barriers was possible.
Speaking of inspiration, their stories continue to resonate today. Lil, how do you see their legacy empowering young black women and athletes now?
It's all about representation, Seth. When young black women see figures like Tony, Connie, and Mamie, they realize that they too can break barriers. These women show that it's possible to succeed even when you're told you don't belong. Their courage inspires the next generation to dream big, whether that's in sports, business, politics, or any other field. They left a blueprint for resilience and excellence.
And it's not just baseball, right? Their legacy extends far beyond the diamond. How do you think that they paved the way for women in other male dominated sports?
Since they laid the groundwork for athletes like Serena Williams, Simone Biles, and Aja Wilson, women dominating their fields while also navigating the challenges of race and gender. In baseball specifically, we're seeing programs aimed at bringing more girls into the game. The recognition of these trailblazers plays a role in that effort. They weren't just athletes, they were pioneers for equality in all sports.
It's amazing how their legacy still lives on in athletes breaking barriers today. These stories remind us why it's so important to honor history. Up next, we'll reflect on how the stories of Tony, Connie, and Mamie are celebrated today and how they continue to inspire. Don't go anywhere. Well, Lil, we've come to the end of an incredible journey through the lives and legacies of three groundbreaking women in sports: Tony Stone, Connie Morgan, and Mamie Peanut Johnson. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to recap what we've learned.
Oh, absolutely, Seth. These women not only broke barriers in the world of baseball, but they also challenged societal expectation of what women, particularly black women, could achieve. Tony Stone was the first woman to play professional baseball full time. Connie Morgan showed that athletic versatility could break new ground, and Mamie Johnson proved that talent and determination could triumph over racism and gender barriers. Their stories are more than just baseball. They're about courage, resilience, and the fight for equality in all areas of life.
Exactly. Their contributions to baseball and ongoing fight for equality are timeless. They were pioneers who helped lay the foundation for women's presence in sports today, inspiring not only future athletes, but also everyone striving to break down barriers in every field. As we wrap up today's episode, we want to leave you with a message of perseverance. These women's journeys weren't easy, but they showed us that with hard work, passion, and resilience, anything is possible. It's not just about breaking barriers in sports, it's about breaking barriers in life.
Absolutely, Seth. And let's remember, these stories are not just history, they're a foundation for the future. We can all contribute to ensuring women continue to have a voice in sports, whether it's supporting female athletes, advocating for equality, or preserving the history of trailblazers like Tony, Connie, and Mamie. We each have a part to play.
That's right. And speaking of the future, don't forget to tune in to our next episode, where we'll dive into another impactful story in the world of sports, politics, gender, and race. We're going to keep bringing you stories of those who broke the mold and changed the game. Next up is a disruptor in the sport of swimming, the story of Olympic gold medalist swimmer Simone Ashley Manuel.
Oh, and you won't want to miss this. Thanks for joining us today. Keep supporting Black women in sports excellence. Keep learning and keep pushing for equality. We'll see you the next time.
Thank you, Political Lil, for your insightful contributions as always. And a huge thank you to our listeners for joining us on this episode of the Cess Talk Sports and BeWise PoliSports Podcast. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel and share this episode with your friends, family, and community. Let's keep this conversation going on social media and tell us what were your takeaways. What inspired you? Tag us and let us know. And before we sign off, remember, representation matters. Stay tuned for more PoliSports episodes. And last but not least, remember, sports are never just about the game. It's about the stories we tell and the change we create. Until next time, stay wise and stay engaged. This is your favorite auntie with Uncle Tendency, Cess, and Political Lil. Until next time, stay tuned. Talk soon. We out.